Welcome back to the DRO Bets channel. It is week 6 of the 2025 MLS season. Last week, we lost our winning streak. Not too bad. We went 2-2 overall. Let's recap that. Let's look at what makes week 6 a tricky minefield of MLS action. And then let's get into my 5 picks for this week. But before we get into that, don't forget, give me the thumbs up, give me the like, give me the subscribe. I really appreciate it. We had our biggest week yet in week 5 with the 2 videos we put out, looking to continue to grow the channel. So I really appreciate your support. Let me know in the comments what you are playing, and then we will get into it for week 6 of the 2025 MLS season. So we went 2-2 in week 5, basically broke even, lost just a tiny amount, like 0.1 unit. So we can't say that we have the winning streak still going. And truth be told, I didn't think it was my best week. I thought we were lucky a little bit to get out of this one unscathed. Now, it was a weekend of international absences. So, to just get through that is fine. And if you played our player props, you did very well. So, I had a winning week overall. And as I mentioned, I did have the under 3 in that Austin game. But let's get into it. Minnesota and the Galaxy, under 2.5. Look, that's on me. Playing an under when a team is playing their backup goalkeeper. Not that he was bad, but no Dane St. Clair. That was one I probably should have stayed away from. NYCFC double chance. Maybe a little bit lucky to get that one home. Columbus didn't find a goal, thank goodness. And then DC United, like a stoppage time goal to get us the win there. I was going to be pissed if Orlando scored 4 goals, if the over 3 hit and the both teams to score over 2.5 didn't hit. So thankfully we got that one. And then Austin, San Diego, San Diego played a ridiculously high line. I have no idea what they were doing. We'll talk about that one in a minute, but 2-2 overall, it's fine. No big deal. Now let's get into week 6 and what makes week 6 very interesting. Now, if week 5 was a little bit scary, to me, week 6 is terrifying. I don't mind so much in week 5 with international absences, knowing exactly who is going to miss and what teams have to do. That allows you to analyze things a little bit better. But this week, it's so difficult because you don't know who's going to come back from international break with a knock, who might play, might not play, might come on as a sub. And then we have CONCACAF Champions Cup next week for the Galaxy, Vancouver, LAFC, and Miami. So it's tough to know exactly how they're going to play those. So really tricky week overall. And then we have bad teams, but playing at home. So like Toronto, New England, DC. It's very difficult to know when a bad team plays at home what they're going to do. I did find 5 spots I like, but tread lightly this week. And let's go ahead and cross our fingers and get into the picks. All right, the very first pick of week 6 is going to be in the Toronto FC Vancouver Whitecaps match, kicking off at 1:30 p.m. Central Time. And we are going to be playing the Whitecaps on the road to go over 1.5 goals, coming in at plus 135. Now, we faded the Whitecaps. Last week, we cashed a lot of money on some player props in that one. But this is a totally different story. The Whitecaps were missing 6 out of their top 10 minutes played last week. They should be all back this week. Canada's match was on Sunday, so a full week of rest. And then Vancouver, they are playing in CONCACAF Champions Cup midweek, but that game is on Wednesday, and this game is on Saturday afternoon. So I don't factor that in too much. And this Whitecaps team, they're just very good at punishing bad defenses. They haven't gone over this number in the last 2 weeks, but they're playing at FC Dallas, tricky game. And then, of course, last week where you can't even take that into account. So to go over 1.5 at plus 135 with Brian White, Ali Ahmed, Jaden Nelson returning back to Toronto, I really like the number. And then you look, this is very close to the Whitecaps money line number. I don't see 1-0 in this one. So plus 135, Whitecaps over 1.5. That's going to be the first play. Our second play of the weekend, we are going to Soldier Field, as you may expect. And we are actually taking Chicago Fire money line and over 1.5 goals scored in the match, coming in at minus 125 against Montreal. Now, I went back and forth on this one because I want the Fire again, and I'll tell you why. But did I want to play Fire -1, which is near even money, or the play I picked, which is minus 125, so it's a little juicier? I don't mind either play, but I went with this one because there's just a little bit of uncertainty with that Montreal new coach bump, the interim coach. They may attack more. It's very difficult to know whether they're going to be playing a defensive or offensive style, and I could see, a 2-1 type game in this one, which would obviously give us the win versus the push. So that's why, if it finishes 1-0 and I get a loss instead of a draw, so be it. But that's why And anyways, I just can't stop backing the Fire right now. Kuipers and the Fire winger assist stack. It's printing money for us. They're doing this against bad teams like FC Dallas, Toronto, and Vancouver. But this is also a bad team. And the thing is, if you look at the Fire's upcoming matches, after this, it gets really tough. They go at the Red Bulls, Inter Miami, FC Cincinnati, Nashville, Orlando, Atlanta, Charlotte. It may seem like things are great right now for the Fire, but they need these 3 points to stay up in the standings because it's going to get really difficult for them after this one. I don't think they're going to lay it egg at home. Give me the Fire plus over 1.5 goals coming in at minus 125. It's going to be a late night on Saturday night, the 9:30 p.m. Central Time kickoffs. There's three of them, and they're all really good games. We're going to have plays on two of them. And the very first one, we are going to Dignity Health Sporting Park, where at 9:30 p.m. Central Time, we are going to take the Orlando City draw no bet coming in at plus 115 against the LA Galaxy. Now, the Galaxy did get a result against Minnesota last week, but I'm just looking at this number and I'm saying, why am I getting this against a Galaxy team with so many question marks? Orlando is not a team that goes for the draw on the road. They're a team that goes for the win. So when you look at, is it more likely when I'm playing the draw no bet, am I going to be on the winning side or the losing side? Orlando has won 17 road games in their last 2 seasons, basically half of their road games. Can the Galaxy come up with enough offense to stay with Orlando? This is an Orlando City team that leads MLS in non-penalty expected goals created, and the Galaxy bottom 5 in MLS of non-penalty expected goals allowed and bottom 5 of non-penalty expected goals scored. So they don't have a good offense. They have a bad defense. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with this Orlando offense. And against Minnesota, the Galaxy only had one good chance created in the match. So if you're looking at the numbers here, I think Orlando City has a really good chance to walk out of this one with a win. And finally, are the Galaxy going to be focused on this game, or are they worried about Tigres in CONCACAF Champions Cup midweek? We'll see, I guess, but I am going to take Orlando City draw no bet plus 115. Next up on the late Saturday night kickoffs, we are going to be going to San Jose, and we are going to be taking the Earthquakes team total over 1.5 against the Seattle Sounders, coming in at plus 145. So looking at this number, I just really feel like it's 30 to 40 cents off for San Jose to score at least 2 goals at home. And here's why. Through 5 games this season, San Jose leads MLS in expected goals created. They are second in MLS in non-penalty expected goals created behind Orlando City, as we just mentioned. And this is a San Jose team that leads the league in shot creating actions. They've underperformed their expected goals. They have 2.5 more goals than they've scored, created. That stuff typically evens up as the season goes along, which makes me feel like this is a really buy low spot at plus 145 for San Jose. And then let's look at Seattle. I feel like we're getting a little bit of a better number at these odds because if you look at Seattle's shut out Houston, but look at it. St. Louis is one of the worst offenses in the league, and they are more than happy to sit on a 1-0 lead at home. And then against Houston, it was a 0-0 draw, and that was a Dynamo team that has one of the worst offenses in the league, and they were missing their midfield engine in Jack McGlynn. They allowed multiple goals in their 3 previous games before that. You're giving me plus 145 for the home team. I'm going to take it. And to wrap it up on Sunday, I think you know where I'm going here. We're going to go back to this one again. We're going to St. Louis, where St. Louis and Austin are going to be matching up 1:15 Central Time kickoff. We are taking under 2.5 goals coming in at even money. Now, we got burned last week on the Austin-San Diego under, but if you look at the circumstances around that match, I still like the play because San Diego was just playing a ridiculous high line. The way that they were set up was insane against an Austin team that all they want to do is hit you on the counter. If you are getting burned by Brandon Vasquez going over the top, I mean, that's just on San Diego last week. St. Louis is not going to do that. They are a much better organized defensive team against an Austin team that is not going to allow many goals. Now you look, these are 2 of the bottom 10 teams in the league in non-penalty expected goals allowed, bottom half of the league in non-penalty expected goals scored. 8 of the 10 games that these teams have played this year have had 1 goal or less. So if you're giving me under 2.5 at even money, I love that. And then here's the kicker. Edward Lowen the midfield engine for St. Louis, he is going to miss this match due to a red card that he got last week against Philadelphia. So St. Louis, he has the most completed passes on St. Louis. I think they're going to really struggle to with that cohesion without Lowen in the midfield. Austin will be more than happy to sit back and try to hit on the counter. Under 2.5 goals, we're going to play it again, coming in at even money. So those are going to be my 5 picks for MLS Week 6. As I mentioned, a little tricky here, so tread lightly. Give me the thumbs up. Give me the subscribe. Share this with your friends. We've had a good run so far. Stay tuned. We're going to have our player props coming out probably on Friday, maybe early Saturday morning. Sometimes we just gotta wait for the books to give us all of the numbers. But thanks for listening, and we will catch you later this week.